In this lesson, we're going to be creating a customized scatter graph. Okay, so my scatter graph is going to be for some data that's going to be living right down here. So let's go ahead and come over here. We're going to grab that graph tool that we were using last time. So just hold it down, and instead of choosing pie graph, we're going to choose scatter graph. And then let's go ahead and turn on our guides. And this is going to be something that I don't want to be perfectly aligned with the column, just as far as, you know, this is going to be too small if it's just in this area here. So I'm going to start basically just kind of down here at the bottom. Then we'll draw this up and out, and we can make it a little bit bigger if we need to later on. And I can scoot that over also. Now in this lesson, I want to show you how to use the data that we already have in our text file by importing it. So you can just come up here where you see import data, click that, and I've just gone ahead and navigated to your project files. We're going to go into our documents, and we're going to be using the environmental worry survey text. So go ahead and choose that one, hit open. And you can see that that just really quickly and easily imported all of that data for us. Now, if you were setting this up yourself, it would be very important that you set up your data similarly to the way that I have mine set up. So we'll just go ahead and hit the check mark to see what happens. And you can see that it's a little bit difficult to read because all the data looks very similar. So we need to change a few things. And also, I would like to have my years across the bottom. So you see we've got kind of all these years here, and we're seeing those as decimals. You could go in and change that if you want, just not to have those, but it doesn't make a difference in what this looks like on this side. I'm going to go ahead and pull this over just so that you can see what I'm talking about. The dates on this side, these are actually the dates, but obviously we're not to the year 2500 yet, and we don't need to see all the way back to 1500, so we need to narrow this area here. But before I do that, wanting the dates to be on the bottom, I can switch that pretty easily just by selecting this and coming over here to this button saying switch X and Y. And now that's going to put my percent here and my dates here. And if I go ahead and just apply that, you can see that now the dates, this looks a little bit more, you know, up and down, and we can see our percentages over here on the left. So we'll go ahead and close out of that data. And you can see this also gave us a kind of legend here, so if we don't want to have that, we don't have to. But we want to edit this a little bit just so that we're not looking at such a wide range of dates. So go ahead and with your object selected, go to Object, come over here to Graph, and choose Type. That's going to take just a second. And we've got our scatter graph chosen here. We could change the value axis to be on, you know, right now we have this on the left side, the right side, but I'm more worried about this bottom area here. So we're going to come up here to our graph options and choose your bottom axis. And you see that now we have our tick values right there. And right now they're just kind of starting at these random pointed numbers. So we're going to choose, click that, override calculated values, which is going to be, you know, those values that it's showing there, and let's just put in the years that we actually have. So that graph, if you want to take a look at the text document again, it started at 1989 and ended in 2013. And then we had, you know, there's several years in between that. So I'm going to just go ahead and open this up for you so you can see it. So it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years of data there, which actually is over a little bit longer than that because we have all the odd years. But I'm still going to say that I want to have, you know, only seeing those odd years since we're ending and beginning on an odd year. So I'll just put 13 in there so we're able to see those. So we'll go ahead and say OK to that. And now you can see that that data has been fixed. So we've got kind of all of our numbers across the bottom here, and right now they're kind of they're overlapping a lot, so we'll fix that in a moment. But we're able to see that graph much better than what we saw earlier, so this just looks a lot better. Now, I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this because I'm not really happy with the way that some of these things are looking. I don't want to have this legend, so it's going to be easier for me just to ungroup it at this point. So I'm going to select it. We'll hit Control-Shift-G to ungroup that. Go ahead and say yes. And I'm going to just kind of go through the process of hitting Control-Shift-G a couple of times so I can delete my legend and anything else that I don't want to have in here. So there's a lot of subgroups within that main part. Now I also don't want to have this part of the graph because I'm going to go in and actually add the percentages at each point. So we'll need to look at that graph data again just to see that. So really the only data I want to see is the years. And I'm just going to go ahead and let's select all of those dates so we can actually just click that and come over here to our type tool. Right now that's set at myriad, so let's change it to PFDIN. And we'll go ahead and turn this down so the dates are a little bit smaller. And another problem that we're having is it's added in a bunch of zeros, which are totally unnecessary. So to be able to see this just a little bit better, let's kind of zoom in here. And we'll just start with each number and kind of come over here to the side. So anytime I see a decimal, I'm going to just kind of drag that over there and we'll delete from that point. Now, why it adds those decimals in there, it's really kind of strange that it works that way whenever we've never had those to begin with. So just kind of have to do a little bit of cleanup here at the end. So you can kind of see now those dates are merging. It's becoming a little bit more obvious what that actually is trying to show us here. So that looks much better. And it looks like we may have ended up with a little bit of, let's see here, just scoot back a little bit. We may have ended up with some dates that weren't exactly what we wanted. So we wanted these to all be odd dates. And so just the way that it plotted this out, they're not exactly all odd. So I'm going to go back in here and change this from 1992 to 91. This will be a 3. This will be a 5. This will be a 9. And it looks like the rest of this data is all odd. So now this is going to coincide with the data that we had in our graph, and we'll be able to now add those percentages. So I'm just going to bring this over here so you can see these are the percentages I'm going off of, and you see they all coincide with those dates. And so I'm just going to be putting them kind of close to those dots that you see there. So I'm going to pull this over. I'm still looking at it. You can look at it on your screen too. I just don't want it to be in our way. And I'm going to type in a 63% because that's my first point of data. Now, something else that I'd like to do is just to change this to that other font that we're using. So we're going to be doing the Adobe Garamond. So go ahead and type that in. And you can see that this just has a very slight offset of that lowercase sort of old style number. And I just like that a little bit better. I'm going to go ahead and change that to the dark blue color. And now what I want to do is just kind of position this where I want all my other plots to be, and then I'll go in and change the data afterwards. So I'm just going to Alt drag, and we'll just position this in, you know, all the places that make sense for that data. Just like that. So sometimes they'll be above, sometimes they'll be below, just based on whatever fits the best. You know, we can put this one kind of to the side. You could put this one maybe to the side right there, and then that would probably mean we should move this one as well. That just looks like it fits a little bit better. And I'm just Alt dragging to duplicate these each time, just to make it a little bit easier on myself. We'll put that one right there at the top. Okay, so once you have all of that data, let's just go in and change those really quickly. So this one's going to be 57%, and I'm just looking at that same graph data that's included in your project files that I just showed you a moment ago. 62, 50, 59, and we'll come down here to this next one. This one's 58. This kind of spike here is 72. Then it goes back down to 58 again. Then we get a really low dip all the way down to 51, and then back up to 65, and then we're down again to 52, and then it kind of is on a steady increase from there, 55 and then 58. So if you need to now, you might want to just go in and kind of change the centering of those up a little bit if it got off from what you had originally done, just because the 63 is distributed a little bit differently than some of these other numbers. So you can just go in and change that. And now I want to kind of just customize the graph a little bit further. Let's grab this line here, and right now this is a 2-point stroke, which is quite heavy. I'm going to turn that down to a 1, and then let's also change this to that nice pink color that we had created there. So that looks a little bit better, and we have those dots kind of all grouped together. I don't like that they have a stroke on them, so I'm going to go ahead and turn that off, and we can change those dots to be, let's say, maybe that darker brown color. So very subtle shift from the pink that we have there. And now my graph is pretty much done. I just need to add kind of some data about what this graph is talking about. So I'm going to go and select the whole thing. We'll hit Control G just to group it together. And then let's bring this down so it's sort of aligned with the bottom of this piece of text here. And then we'll do a right align over here on the side. So now we've got that placed. And I want to go ahead and maybe move this up a little bit just so I have some more room for my text. And we have some text over here in this piece. So this is going to be where we see this right here. Then we have survey, how much do you personally worry about global warming? And then we have C data, which is what we've created. So this part is kind of the label for that. So we'll just hit Control C to copy. And then let's just come in here and paste that. And we probably want to break this onto 2 lines. So how much do you personally worry about global warming? And we'll go ahead, let's make this our PFDIN. So we can just eyedrop that and then kind of rearrange it a little bit. So make it much smaller, maybe about 11. Come into our paragraph, we'll do a left alignment. Then let's bring this up so that's a little bit closer. And maybe we might even want to make this bottom piece of text just a little bit larger than the top. So just kind of like that. And maybe take that down from a bold stance to a regular stance. So kind of just make that label look a little bit better just by doing that. Maybe change it from that blue color to the darker color so it shows up a little bit better. And I'm just going to align that there on the side. So I just got it close so I could see where that side was. And then I'll push this back up to the top just like that. And then let's go ahead and add that to our group. So select everything, hit Control G to do that. And now this is, you know, part of that group. We can maybe take this, maybe scale it up a little bit so that's the same height across the top and the bottom. And now we've gotten quite a bit done here. Maybe go ahead and push this up right there. If you wanted to make sure that that was, you know, still that same distance from here to here, that could probably come back down a little bit. So this is looking pretty good. We, you know, have a few other things to add. In our next lesson, we're going to talk about another kind of graph that we can make, which is going to be creating a bar graph with customized shapes, and that's going to go kind of down here in this area. But so far, everything is looking really nicely laid out. I'm really happy with the way that everything's turning out, and we're just kind of slowly going through and compartmentalizing. So you'll kind of notice the method here was we did all of our type first, then we're doing all of our graphs, then we'll start to work on images and illustrations. So we still have one more graph to go before we get to that part. So stick around and we'll learn how to make a really nicely customized graph right here inside of Illustrator.